Welcome guys to our Vinyasa 3 video, the first of the videos that you guys have kindly donated to. Thank you very much for that, real appreciation. So just a couple of things before we start. I've got a towel in case I needed to pad my knee at any point. I have got 2 brick blocks and a flat block and a strap, possibility that you might need them. If you haven't got them, good thing to have is either a tie from your husband's closet or a couple of books, whatever works for you really. You could have, like, say, a can of beans as something to rest on or use as a block, whatever feels best for you. So we're going to start in standing today. So, and also make sure you have some water. So coming to the front of the mat, bringing our feet hip width apart, lifting all 10 toes, then bringing them down from the little toe through to the big toe, one by one releasing them to the floor. Take a roll of the shoulders up towards the ears, back down towards the hips, turn the palms forward, soften the knees slightly, tuck the tailbones down a little towards the mat, squeezing the belly back towards the spine and lifting that belly button up a little bit in towards that rib cage. Let the chest be nice and wide at the front and a slight contraction through the shoulder blades. Grow through the crown but ground through the feet. Close the eyes here and just take a moment to scan the body from the top of the head down to the fingertips and the toes. When you've taken that mental scan of the body, checking in with how that body feels, any tight spots, any injuries, knowing to be mindful of them as we move through practice. Start to bring the attention to the breath. Breathing nice and deep in, either to the lower ribs or into the belly, expanding on the inhale and contracting and softening on the exhale. Feel a little lightness and lift as you breathe in, like you're growing taller on every in-breath. And as you breathe out, feel everything being supported by the soles of the feet and the earth connecting to them. If those eyes being closed makes you feel a little insecure and wobbly, maybe just have a soft gaze just in front of you. With those eyes closed, bring that chin into the chest. And then lift that chin up towards the ceiling. Flexion and extension through that cervical spine. Bring that chin back so the head comes back to centre. Bring your right ear to the right shoulder, keeping the shoulders down but the head moving towards it. Bring it back into centre. Take that head then over to the left side, left ear towards the left shoulder. Lateral flexion through the cervical part of the spine. Bring it back into centre, then take the gaze around to the right side to rotate and pivot on the top of that cervical spine. Bring it back through centre and take it over to the other side, still with those eyes closed or a soft gaze. Bring those heads back into the middle. Maybe open your eyes here and then start to curl that chin into the chest. Start to roll through the shoulders and the upper part of the spine. And then start to bend the knees and let the arms become heavy as you curl down through that spine, feeling each vertebrae curl over as you bring that chest towards the thighs and the fingertips down to the mat. Let go of everything here. Let go of anything you're holding in the neck or the shoulders. Try and bring those sit bones a little lower, the chest a little closer to those thighs. And then your next breath in, curl back up through that spine. Arms staying heavy, knees stay bent until you start to straighten that lower back. And then as you come back up to standing, raise the head and roll the shoulders back. And then take it back down again, bring that chin into the chest, roll the shoulders, let the arms become heavy, start to bend through the upper part of the back, start to bend into the knees as you start to curl through that low spine. taking it with control as you start to release those fingertips down towards the mat. Let that chest sit onto the thighs. Let go of anything you're holding in the neck and the shoulders. Your next breath in, we're going to straighten through the legs, bring the hands onto the shins, bring it into a nice straight back. So we have a tabletop back and we have nice, strong, straight legs. Maybe your legs aren't straightening as much as mine, but try not to go into hyperextension and letting those legs bow. Bring it somewhere in the middle and let those thighs switch on. Then release the hands back to the floor, come down onto the hands and knees, tabletop position. Heel of the hands under the shoulders, knees under the hips. Few rounds of cat-cow here. As you breathe in, drop the belly down, lift up the head, lift up the bum. Taking it into our cow position, squeezing the shoulders back. And then as you take your next breath out, you tuck the chin into the chest, the tailbone tucks down, centre of the spine lifts into cow. And take it back into cow again, dropping the belly, letting those shoulders squeeze back, the head and the tailbone lift. And then take it back into that cat position, tucking the chin under, tailbone under, centre of the spine lifts. Bring it back to a tabletop position. Have a little softness in the elbows, widen the fingers, step both feet back to a plank, holding it here for a couple of breaths to try and find that alignment in plank. Nice long line from the crown of the head to the heels, and finding the space where that chest is being pushed in between those shoulder blades. Drawing the belly button back and up slightly to get that core connection. Squeezing the glutes, maybe lifting the kneecaps by squeezing through those thighs. And then start to paddle those feet as you start to lift up those hips. Bringing ourselves into our first downward facing dog of the day. Have a little nod and a shake of those heads. We're going to take ourselves through 3 vinyasas. I'll start with option 1. If you know your vinyasas, take your 3 vinyasas and then come to child's pose. If you're coming with me, option 1, come forward to a plank position. Drop down with the knees. Turn the creases of the elbows forward and let those elbows graze the ribs as you release the chest down. Push into the hands, untuck the toes and lift the chest, baby cobra. Release that chest back down, tuck under the toes, bring the chest back towards the thighs. And push into those hands and feet, lift up the hips and start to squeeze the heels back or paddle if that's what the hamstrings require. Then bring those heels to stillness, soften the knees if you need to. Option 2, next breath in comes forward to plank. Your next breath out, we release down with straight bodies, keeping those elbows grazing the ribs as we did in the first one. Untuck the toes, push into the hands, maybe come a little higher with the chest. Then release that chest back down, tuck under the toes, bring those chest back towards those thighs. Push into those hands and feet as you lift up the hips and squeeze the heels back or paddle. And again, if those lower backs are tight, soften the knees. The aim is to get nice straight backs, not rounding through those spines. Option 3, if you're coming with me, come forward to a plank position. And then this time we're going to release to hovering off the mat. And then rolling over the toes, lifting up the chest, keeping the thighs away. And then this time we're going straight back to down dog with straight legs, lifting the hips, rolling over the toes, bringing the heels down, back to downward facing dog. Coming into child's pose. If you don't wish to come into child's pose and you wish to take a couple of more vinyasas, feel free to do so. But if you're with me, just bringing the body down, bringing the chest in between those thighs, the big toes together, knees separated. And just take a moment here. Maybe it might be a time to take on a little water before we start ramping up that flow. So remember, we can always pad the knees with the towels. We can use the books to an extension of the hands, and we can use the tie to extend our hands towards our feet. So they're all options we can go with. One more breath in child's pose. Then coming up onto the hands and knees, stack the heel of the hands under the shoulders, knees under the hips. Walk the right hand a little further forward, Take the right foot off the mat at the back and send the left toes back to the back of the mat. Left hand comes onto the shoulder. And then turn the shoulders, raise the left hand to the ceiling, reach through with the left fingertips to the ceiling and then push into that right palm into the mat. Then when you've found some stability here, raise up that left leg. Once that left leg is raised, push the heel away and the toes back to the shins. And then reach that left hand forward to the front of the mat. Reaching through the left fingertips, reaching back with that left heel, grounding through the right hand and the right foot. Then bring that left elbow towards that left knee. And then take a hold of the ankle on that left side. Bring that left knee back in line with the rest of the body. Lift up with the chest, push the hips and chest forward, and then start to push into that hand on the left side with that left ankle. Opening up through the front side of the body as much as you can and contracting through the back of the body. All the time resisting the push of that left ankle with that left hand. Softening that right elbow on that grounded hand as well, so we're not hyperextending in that joint. Taking sugarcane pose, a baby sugarcane on this right side. Maybe the gaze can be up to the ceiling, but make sure the openness comes through the front side of the body. One more breath here. And then releasing that left knee down to the mat. Left hand down to the floor, bring the right foot back onto the mat. Round of cat-cow. Breath in, lifts at the head, lifts at the bum, drops the belly. Breath out, we fold everything back in, chin to chest, tailbone tucks, centre of the spine lifts. And then bring it back to that neutral space, tabletop position. This time, bring the left hand slightly forward, take the left foot off the mat, roll onto that left side, right toes back to the back of the mat, right hand onto the right shoulder, raise the right hand to the ceiling, push into that left hand but soften that left elbow, fingertips of the right raising, and then raise that right leg up to hip high. Push that right heel away, right toes back to the shins, then reach forward with the right hand to the front of the mat. Keep stable through that left foot and left hand. Then bring that right elbow to the right knee. Take a hold of the ankle on that right leg. Push that right knee back to be in line with the body. And then push that right ankle into that right hand. Open the chest, maybe lift that gaze. Sugarcane, baby sugarcane on this left side. Really resist with that right hand as that right ankle pushes into it. Really feeling that openness through that right hip flexor. And squeezing that right bum cheek to push those hips forward. One more breath here. And then releasing that right knee down. Bring the right hand down to meet the left, step the left foot back, left hand back slightly. Round of cat-cow. Breath in, lifts at the head, lifts at the bum, drops the belly. Breath out, we fold everything back in. Chin to chest, tailbone to centre of the spine lifts. Bring it back to a tabletop position. From here, step it back to a plank. Nice long line from the crown of the head to the heels, holding in plank for a couple of breaths. Chest cavity pushes back into that space between the shoulder blades. And that belly button lifts back to the spine, then in and up towards the ribs. Start to paddle the feet as you lift at the hips, starting to squeeze one heel down to the mat at a time. Maybe moving through those hips, maybe moving through those shoulders, maybe nodding and shaking through those heads. Then bringing those heels to stillness, squeezing them back. Feet hip width apart, hands shoulder width apart. Your next breath in, we raise up with that right leg. We keep the hips nice and neutral, but we raise that leg as high as we can take it without that right hip lifting. Then keeping the hips high, bring the right knee into the chest and bring that nose towards that knee. Then raise that right leg again back up towards the ceiling. And again, bring that right knee into the chest. Hold it there for a breath. Gaze in between the hands and step that right foot through. Drop down onto the back knee. Remember, you can pad the knee with the towel. Stabilise into the top of the back foot, the whole of the front foot, then bring the arms out wide and up towards the ceiling into our low lunge position. Relax the shoulders, lengthen up through the arms. Try and squeeze that tailbone down slightly, the ribs towards the hips so we don't flare and dump into that lower back. And then bringing those hands down to either side of that right foot. Walk those hands back towards that left knee and squeeze those right toes back to the shins. Keep the hips in the centre of the mat. They'll want to rock over to the left. Hamstring stretch down that right side. It might be that you're high up on these fingertips here. It might be that you're using blocks to lift you high, whatever works for you. Then walking those hands back towards the right foot, tuck the back toes under, lift the back knee, hop onto that right leg as you lift that left leg. Gaze back towards the back of the mat, lifting the left leg as high as you can without hoinking that left hip up. Hips stay nice and neutral. And that right leg's as straight as you can take it to get a hamstring stretch down the back of that leg. Then releasing that left foot back down to the floor, bending into that front knee. Place the hands down either side of the right foot, step the right foot back to plank. Hold it in plank for a breath. Then lift the hips, squeeze those heels back and take a nod and shake of those heads. Same thing on the left side. We raise up with that left leg, hips stay neutral, raise the leg as high as it can go. And the chest pushes back towards the shin and the right heel to the mat. Then bring that left knee into the chest and maybe bring that nose towards that left knee. Then raise that leg again back up towards the ceiling. Bring that knee back into the chest. Hips stay high, come up onto the back toes and step that left foot through. Drop down onto that back knee, sink the hips and tuck the toes. Bring the arms out wide, then up towards the ceiling, palms together, gaze up towards those hands. Maybe interlace the fingers to keep the palms nice and tight. Sink those hips lower, tuck the tailbones down, draw the ribs down towards those hips. Soften the shoulders, lengthen the arms. Then releasing the hands down to either side of that left foot. Walk the hands back towards the right knee. Bring the left toes back towards the shins and neutralise the hips in the centre. Squeeze the left toes back as much as you can to feel that full gain of stretch. Then walking the hands back towards that left foot, tuck under the back toes, lift the back knee. Step onto that left foot, lift the right leg towards the ceiling, gaze back towards the back of the mat. Left leg's nice and straight, grounding into the whole of that left foot. Raising that right leg as high as you can using the glutes to lift. Then take a bend back into that left knee, softly replace the right leg to the back of the mat. Place both hands either side of the left foot, step back to plank. Hold it here for a nice strong plank for a couple of breaths. And then start to paddle the feet as you lift up the hips, starting to bring one heel down at a time or both at the same time. Have a nod and shake of that head. A vinyasa here of your choice. I'm sticking with option 1 or go with whichever option you choose. Come forward to plank on the inhale. Release down, dropping the knees, grazing the elbows by the sides of the ribs. Untuck the toes, push into the hands and lift up the chest. Release the chest down, tuck under the toes, bring the chest back towards those thighs. Push into those hands and feet as you lift up the hips and squeeze those heels back. So we're going to do those 3 poses that we've just done again, but add a pose on to the end. Your next breath in, we raise up with the right leg. Hips stay neutral, left heel to the mat. Then bring that right knee in towards the chest, hips stay high. Bring that nose towards the knee. Then raise that leg again back up towards the ceiling. Push that right heel away, left heel back. Bring that knee back in towards the chest. Come up onto the toes and step that right foot through. Drop down the back knee and curl the toes. Raise the arms out to the side up to the ceiling, palms together. Sink the hips low, tailbone tucking, ribs towards the hips. Then bring the hands down either side of the right foot. Walk the hands back towards the left knee. This time keep the right toes pointed. So we're then stretching through that shin, the front side of that right leg. Walk the hands back towards that right foot, tuck under the back toes, lift the back knee, hop onto that right leg. As you lift that left leg up nice and high, this time maybe bringing one hand onto the ankle of that right side. So we're now just balancing on the right foot and one hand. Then release that hand back down, bend that front knee, drop that left foot down to the back of the mat. Stay low in the hips as you then raise the arms, coming up into a high lunge, crescent lunge. Sink in to both hips, tuck the tailbone down, ribs towards the hips. Gaze up towards those thumbs and try not to crunch into the toes of that front foot. One more breath here. Then release the hands back down. Step back to a plank position, hold it in plank for a breath. Then lift the hips, squeeze the heels back or paddle, making sure you've still got the hips and feet at the same distance apart, the hands and the shoulders same distance apart. Your next breath in, we raise up with the left leg. Hips stay neutral, right heel squeezes down. Then bring that left knee towards the chest, the nose towards the knee, keeping the hips high. Raise that leg again back up towards the ceiling. Right heel squeezes down. Then bring that knee towards the chest. Come up onto the toes of the back foot, step that left foot through. Drop down onto the back knee, untuck the toes, keep the hips low as you bring the arms out wide. Lifting them up to the ceiling, sinking into those hips, relaxing the shoulders, lengthening those arms. And then release the hands down either side of that front foot. Walk the hands back towards that right knee. This time the toes of the left foot are pointed, stretching through the shin. Hips stay neutral in the centre of the mat. The chest is lifted and falling over that left thigh. Then start to walk the hands back towards that left foot, tuck the back toes under, lift the back knee. Hop onto that left foot as you raise up that right leg. And again, maybe taking a hold of the ankle with one of the hands. Gazing back towards the back of the mat, raising the right leg as high as it can. Bring both hands down to the floor, take a bend back into that front knee. Slowly release that right foot to the back of the mat. Stabilise the feet, keep the hips low as you raise the arms, coming up to that crescent lunge, tucking the bum under, drawing the ribs down. Maybe lifting that gaze to challenge the balance. Front knees bent, back leg straight, the right heel pushing back and pushing into the whole of that front foot, but try not to grip with those left toes. Next breath out, release the hands down either side of that left foot. Step the left foot back to plank, hold it in plank for a couple of breaths. And then paddle the feet as you start to lift up the hips, start to squeeze those heels back or paddle. Nod and shake of those heads. And taking a vinyasa here of your choice, come forward to plank on the inhale. Releasing down to the floor, I'm coming with straight body this time, but you can drop the knees. Tuck the toes, push into the hands, lift up the chest. Release that chest back down, tuck under those toes, bring those chest back to the thighs. Push into the hands and feet, lift up the hips, squeeze the heels back for a breath. Then coming down onto the knees, take a little sip of water before we take ourselves into the next flow. When you've taken your rehydration, make your way back into downward facing dog. Stepping back into plank first, then lifting the hips, keeping the hands and feet where they are. Having a little nod and shake of the head. So those 3 poses with that extra added on, plus one more is going to be doing onto the end of that flow. So raising your right leg up towards the ceiling, hips stay neutral, raise the leg as high as it will go. Then bring the knee into the chest, keep the hips high, nose towards that knee. Then raise that leg again back up towards the ceiling. Bring then that knee in towards the chest and squeeze the nose to the knee. Gaze in between the hands, come onto the toes of the back foot as you step that foot through. Drop that back knee and curl those toes. Bring the arms out wide, raise them up towards the ceiling, palms come together. And then release those hands down either side of that right foot. Walk the hands back towards that left knee, this time squeezing the toes back. And we breathe in here, lengthen through the body. As we breathe out, maybe fold a little more over that right leg. Keep the hips neutral. Then start to walk the hands back towards that right foot. Tuck under the back toes, lift the back knee, hop onto that right leg. As you then lift that left leg high, maybe take one hand round the ankle. Then if you wish to challenge the balance, take both feet round that right ankle, lifting that left leg as high as it will go. This will challenge the balance. Lifting that left leg up and that head coming down towards the floor. Release both hands down. Step that left foot back nice and lightly to the back of the mat. Stabilise the feet, raise the arms up towards the ceiling. Relax the shoulders, raise that gaze. Then this time we're going into a twisted warrior. So bring your left hand forward, your right hand back. Shoulders stay stacked over the hips. Back leg stays straight, front knee stays bent. We encourage the right shoulder back, the left shoulder around. And we use the oblique muscles to make that twist. Long breaths. Reach back with the right hand, forward with the left. The gaze is towards the right side of the room. Pelvis nice and neutral. Feeling like you're encouraging the right hip back and the left hip forward. One more breath here as we then windmill the hands down either side of that right foot. Step back to a plank for a couple of breaths. Nice strong plank position. Then start to paddle those feet. As you lift up the hips, squeeze the heels back. So the same thing on that left side. Your next breath in, we raise up that left leg. We push the chest back to the shin. We push that right heel to the mat and lift the left leg as high as it will go. Bring that knee then into the chest, keeping the hips nice and high, nose towards the knee. Then lift that left leg again back up towards the ceiling. Bring that knee then back into the chest. Gaze in between the hands, come onto the toes of the back foot as we step that left foot through. Drop down onto that back knee and untuck those toes. Bring the arms out wide. Low lunge position, raising the hands, sinking the hips. Try not to dump into that lower back by tucking that tailbone down. Then bring those hands down either side of that left foot. Walk the hands back towards that right knee. Squeeze those left toes back towards the shins. And this time take a long breath in, lengthen the spine. Push the chest forward, and as you breathe out, fold over that leg. Hamstring stretch. The more you lift the tailbone, the more you stretch the hamstring. The more you bring those left toes back, the more you get into the Achilles and calves. Start to walk the hands back towards that left foot. Tuck the back toes under, lift the back knee, hop onto that left leg. Find the balance in the foot first, then maybe take one hand around it, the ankle and then the other. Gazing back towards the back of the room, raising that right leg as high as you can. Finding that balance in standing splits. One more breath here. Then release the hands, release the right foot to the back of the mat. Bend into that front knee, hips stay low. Raise the arms to the ceiling into a high crescent lunge. Back leg straight, pushing that heel away. And then we're taking it into a twisted warrior. Your right hand comes forward, your left hand comes back, and we twist around towards the left side of the room. Try and encourage the right hip forward, the left hip back. Straightness through the back leg, bent into the front knee. Encourage the left shoulder back, the right shoulder around. Take one more breath here. Then windmill the hands down either side of that left foot. Step back to a plank position. Nice long line from the crown to the heels. Belly squeezing back. Then paddle those feet as you lift those hips back to down dog. Nodding and shaking those heads. Vinyasa of your choice. I'm taking option 3 this time. Come forward to plank. Either dropping the knees or releasing down to the floor, or hover with me. Roll up and lift the chest. Thighs stay away from the floor if you're with me. Then taking it back to down dog, lifting the hips, squeezing the heels back. Then coming down onto the knees. Take a moment just to take on some water before we take those poses again, adding one more onto the end. So this gets quite challenging, quite warming. It really helps strengthen those joints, the muscles that surround them. And it helps warm all that connective tissue up so we get a little bit more mobility and flexibility. So one more breath or a little more water here before we then make our way back in firstly to plank. Shoulders over the heel of the hands. And then lifting the hips back to down dog without moving those hands and feet. Okay guys, so adding one more pose on to the end. Your next breath in, we raise that right leg. Hips stay neutral. Then keeping the hips high, bring the knee to the chest, nose towards the knee. Raise that leg again back up to the ceiling all the time, keeping squeezing that left heel down. Then bring that knee back into the chest. Come onto the toes of the back foot, step that right foot through. Drop down that back knee, uncurl the toes, bring the arms up towards the ceiling into our low lunge. Hold it here for a breath. Then release the hands down either side of that right foot. Walk the hands back towards that left knee. This time pointing the toes again. Breathe in, lengthen the spine. Breathe out, fold over that right leg. Then walking the hands back towards that right foot. Tuck those back toes under. Hop onto that right leg. Lift the left, standing splits. Maybe take that challenge of that balance. Lifting that left leg a little higher. Then releasing those hands back to the mat. Step the left foot back, bend back into that right knee. Stabilize the feet first, raise the arms up to high lunge. Sink the hips, push into the feet. Try not to grip with the right toes. Taking twisted warrior, left hand forward, right hand back. Use the obliques to make the twist. Those muscles in the sides of the waist. Then bringing your left hand down to the floor, your right hand lifts, and we gaze up towards that right thumb. We try and squeeze that left shoulder towards that right knee. We try and encourage the right hip back, the left hip forward. And gazing up to the right thumb if that neck is happy. Right shoulder stacking on top of the left. Hips stay nice and neutral to that short edge of the mat. Release that right hand down. Step back to plank. Hold it in plank for a breath. And then this time going to roll onto your right side. So you can either drop that knee and turn that right foot out, or you can bring both legs straight, lifting the left hand to the ceiling. Maybe gazing up towards that left thumb. Maybe lifting that left leg up to hip high. Hold it here for one breath. And then release everything back down to the mat. Lift the hips back towards the ceiling. Take a paddle through the feet, nod and shake of those heads. And we'll take all that again on that left side. Breath in, lifts the left leg. Straight leg, push the heel away. hips stay neutral. Bring that knee into the chest, hips stay high, bring the nose towards the knee. Raise that leg again back up towards the ceiling, trying to squeeze that right heel down. Bring that knee then to the chest. Come onto the toes of the back foot, step that left foot through. Drop that back knee and curl those toes. Bring the arms out and up to our low lunge. Ribs trying to squeeze down, bums trying to tuck under. Then bring the hands down either side of that left foot. Walk the hands back towards that right knee, keeping the toes pointed through that left side. Breathe in, elongate that spine. Breathe out, fold over that leg. Then walking the hands back towards that left foot. Tuck those back toes under, hop on to that left foot, lifting that right leg. Either keeping the hands grounded or taking the challenge of the balance. Keeping that gaze to something to focus on. Raising that right leg up a little higher. One more breath here. Then release the hands, softly release that right leg back. Keep a bend into that front knee. Raise the arms up towards the ceiling. High lunge for a breath. Right hand comes forward, left hand goes back to twist that warrior. Encourage the left shoulder back as much as you can and the right shoulder around. Shoulders over those hips, but rotated, back leg straight, front knee bent. Then bring that right hand down to the floor. Keep that left hand lifted, gaze up towards that left thumb. Right shoulder squeezing towards that left knee. Right heel pushing back. Left knee bending, stacking over that left ankle. And then bring that left hand down. Step back to plank. Hold it here just for a breath. And then rolling over onto your left side this time. Raising that right hand up to the ceiling. Remember, you can drop that base knee if you need to and turn that leg out. If you're with me, straight legs. And maybe lifting that right leg up to hip height just for a breath. Release that right leg down. Release the right hand down. Lift the hips back to down dog. Have a little paddle. And then take a vinyasa of your choice. Forward to plank. On the inhale, maybe drop the knees or straight bodies or hover. Roll through and up and lift up those chests. Making your way back to down dog. Lifting the hips, squeezing the heels back. Then coming onto the knees. Maybe take on a little water first. And then bringing the feet around in front of you. Bums in the centre, heels to the front. So I'm going to do this from a side angle for you because it's easier for you to see where we're going. So we're going to take a bend into your left knee and let that left knee drop out to the side. Remove the flesh from under the right sit bone. Right toes are active, back to the shins. Track the shoulders towards that straight leg. Your breath in, raise the arms. And as you breathe out, fold over that right leg. So that might be that you come to here, holding on to the shins. You may be up higher, as long as you can feel the stretch through the back of that leg. You might want to pop a block under that knee if you wish. Breathe in again, lengthen through the spine. And breathe out, fold over that leg, taking it to wherever your range of movement goes. So we're going to take this into a little bit of a flow. So your next breath in, raise the hands up towards the ceiling. Your breath out, bring your left hand down, right hand onto the hip, and lift those hips to the ceiling. Your breath in drops those hips back down. Your breath out lifts those arms to the ceiling. And your breath in relaxes those bodies over those thighs. and just allow that body to fold. Breath in, raise those hands back up to the ceiling. Breath out, bring the hand of the left down. Breath in, raise the hips. Breath out, bring those hips back down to the floor. Breath in, raise the hands. Breath out, fold over that leg. Breath in, lift the hands. Breath out, drop the left hand down, raise the hips on the inhale. Breath out on the exhale. Breath in, raise the hands. Breath out, fold back over that leg. And just allow yourself to settle here for a couple of breaths. Then walking those hands back up towards the legs. Bring your left foot out straight this time. Take a bend into your right knee. Let that right knee drop out to the side. Remove the flesh from under the left sit bone. Right sole of the foot comes into that left thigh and the left toes back to the shins. Breathe in, lengthen up through the torso, lift the arms. Breath out, fold over that leg. Breath in, elongate, push the chest forward. Breath out, maybe fold a little deeper, draw in that belly back and just hold it here for a couple of breaths. So then we're going to take it into 3 movements. Your next breath in, raise those arms. Breath out, release the right. Breath in, lift the hips. Breath out, drop the hips. Breath in, raise the hands. Breath out, release over that leg. Breath in, raise the arms. Breath out, drop the right, lift the hips on the inhale. Release the hips on the exhale. Release the hands and lift, inhale. Fall back over that leg on the exhale. Breathe in, lift the arms. Breathe out, drop the right. Breathe in, lift the left hip. Breathe out, drop the hips. Breathe in, lift the arm. Breathe out, fold back over that left leg. Breath in, lift the arms. Breath out, drop the right. Breath in, lift the hips. Breath out, drop the hips. Breath in, lift the arms. Breath out, fold back over that leg and just allow that body to settle for a couple of breaths. Then walking those hands back up towards the body. Bring both legs out in front of you. Breathe in, lengthen up through the sides of the waist. Breath out, fold over those legs. Taking a hand onto either the right or left leg, whichever you choose. That may be the shin, maybe the ankle, maybe the foot. It may be that you wish to use your strap. Then your next breath in, we lift that leg and push that heel away, draw the toes back to the shins. Holding it here in a hamstring stretch for a couple of breaths. Your next breath out, release that body back over those legs. Breathe in, elongate the spine. Breathe out, fold back over those legs. Now we're taking it onto the left side. So either the hands round the shins, the ankles, the feet, or use the strap. Your next breath in, lift that leg up towards the ceiling. Nice straight line. That might be if you're holding onto the foot, you can't get your full extension. So maybe release it down a little. Hamstring stretch all the way down that back leg. Relax the shoulders, lengthen through the torso. Your next breath out, release that body back down to the floor. Breath in, elongate the spine, lift the chest. Breath out, fold back over those thighs. Then walking the hands back up the legs. Bringing the hands behind the back, so either fingertips pointing in, or if that's too uncomfortable for the wrists, turn them out to the sides. We're coming into our tabletop plank. So bringing our feet in slightly, squeezing the shoulder blades together and roll the shoulder blades down. Push into the feet, push into the hands. Slowly lift those hips up towards the ceiling, take the gaze up and try and squeeze that bum to lift those hips high. Knees are no further than hip width apart and we're trying to lift through that chest a little. Maybe the gaze is up, or if it's uncomfortable to the neck, gaze forward. One more breath here. And then breathe out, bring those bums, push into the hands, try and send those bums in between those hands and roll onto the heels of the feet. Hold it here and then release those bums back to the mat. Bring the bums into the centre. Take a hold of the creases of the knees. Come up onto those tippy toes. Take one foot up to knee high and then the other. You can choose to stay here if you wish, or bring the hands in front, take an interlace of the fingers and point the index fingers forward. Take those hands over to your right side and take the feet over to the left side. Maybe straighten the legs or keep them bent, whichever feels most doable for you. Bring those knees back into the centre, shoulders in line with the knees. Then take the hands over to the left side, straighten up through those legs or just take them over to the right. Hold it here for another breath. Bring it back into centre. Release that body down to the floor, keeping the legs high for a moment, keeping the shoulders away, so we're going into that low boat. One breath here, and then release everything down. Bring the hands down by the sides of the body. Separate the feet wide to the width of the mat. Push those hips up to the ceiling, tuck the tailbones down, and then bring the knees in towards the chest. Give those knees a squeeze. Maybe make a little circle with the knees on the ceiling in one direction. And then make circles back in the other way. Bring those knees back in towards the chest. Bring the elbows to the inside of the knees. Take a hold of the big toes. And then last hamstring stretch before we take ourselves into relaxation. If the grab of the toes is too far away, take the ankles or the shins. Just trying to push those heels away, plug the shoulders into the mat, the tailbones into the floor. And then taking a bend back into those knees, bring the feet to the mat, either going into butterfly legs for relaxation or straightening them out to the ends of the mat. Turn the palms up, take a turn of the head in one direction, bringing it back through centre, taking it over to the other side. Back into centre. Have a little rock of the hips from side to side. Squeeze the toes into the soles of the feet. Take a breath in that contraction and then let that contraction go. Squeeze the legs. Activate the thighs. Hold it for a breath and then let those muscles release. Squeeze the bums. And then let those bums release. Draw the bellies back, lift up and open through the chest, squeezing the shoulder blades together in the back. And then let that release. Bring the hands into a fist. Bring a bend into the elbows, contract the biceps, the triceps, the forearms, and release, and then just let those hands go. Scrunch the face nice and tight. And then widen the mouth as wide as it can go. And relax those muscles in the face, the forehead and the jaw. And just have that scan of the body, just checking in with how that body feels. If you're still holding tension in any parts of the body, give those muscles a squeeze, then let those muscles go. Bring your focus to your own natural, automatic breath. Let the floor support the body. If thoughts come into the mind, take notice of them. Then bring that attention back to the breath, that 1-point focus. Taking as much time as you wish in this space, with those eyes closed. But in the meantime, have peace in your thoughts, have peace in your words, have peace in your hearts. From my heart to yours, Namaste.